The Centralpoint Wheel is a living, breathing mind map that shows you not only your parent organization, but all of the facilities underneath of your organization. And this wheel could be, if you're a medium to small business, it could be a very small wheel, like the one you see here. It might start to get a little larger in the case of this organization who represents their main site, but also underneath of their main site, they might have all of these individual websites. And these are each uniquely under their own URL. Perhaps they have their own style, their own look and feel, their own homepage. Here's a seasonal holiday site they maintain. Here is another site over here called Emerald Bay. And again, Emerald Bay has its own look and feel. And over here we have yet another one called the Tahoe Center for orthopedics. So each one of these are a site unto itself, and the organization structure can be quite large. These organizations, these sites and the way these things are managed based on the family tree of your organization. Some groups can be very, very large. For some of our clients, they have enormous Centralpoint wheels. Like, for example, this diagram here shows facilities all around the world, broken up by US, Canada, China, Hong Kong. And as we go all the way down to this little site here, there's our site that we can access. Now, in the back end of Centralpoint, we have a tool called Organization Chart. It's found under Admin. And here you'll see how that wheel is rendered. It's basically querying that family tree, and it's outputting a diagram to show us exactly what that environment looks like. So not only can we have one wheel for the entire organization, but we could say, I want to have a snapshot for just my Ohio sites. And what we're doing in this scenario is we're saying, show me only those facilities within the United States, specifically within the state of Ohio. And we're saving that chart. We're saving those rules around that. In this way, I now have a live snapshot of not just the entire organization, but if I want to zoom in and get a look at just Ohio within Cincinnati or Dublin, and in the individual centers and websites that we have at each location. So for extranets and intranets and large families of sites, oftentimes you'll see, find a location nearest me. Well, this is how we know where all this stuff is and how we manage it within Centralpoint. Another thing that might be of interest to those watching is how this chart comes to pass. So this large organization is an n-tiered family of sites. And let's say this organization decided to expand into Europe, let's say. So as we create new audiences within this family, and I say we have a new audience called Europe, and within Europe, we now have a region in Germany. Well, Germany is a child of Europe. We then have another region called France. And that France region, or France is again part of Europe. And then we might even get as detailed as saying we have Paris, so this is an n-tiered structure that allows us to build out a very large family tree for your organization. Even if you're one of the largest multinationals in the world, we now see that we have a European division under which we have France and Germany. Under France, we have Paris. So this can be built, as you can imagine, very, very large. It's not just the websites we're managing, though. It's also the administrators. So as we assign someone like this person here, Joe may only be in charge of those sites that are found within our newly minted Europe region. And maybe he's only in charge of France and Paris. Maybe he's also in charge of Germany. Maybe he can read only. Maybe he can write to these sites. What types of things can he manage within that ecosystem? As maybe it's product information or staff directory. So maybe we want John to participate by adding content, appending to that ecosystem. Normally, we would not give John full control over all these tools, but we could. We normally don't do that because a large organization likes to govern their brand, so they're not going to give John control over design and logos and certain things that they want to control from the top down, but they will give him control over the things he needs to do. Even the activities that John takes, is he subject to review? And if so, maybe his regional manager has to approve it. So it's not just managing a lot of websites in a wheel. It's about distributing the administrative tools to everyone. It's about cross-pollinating some of that content. Case in point, we might have a record that applies to just France. We might have a record that applies to all of Europe. So we might have a record that's European only. We might have that same record might also apply to certain regions in Canada, like in Alberta or in Ontario. So this is kind of a European thing, but it also touches Ontario and these other sites. So this means that one record will be shared and found only within those constituent children. And furthermore, we can even split hairs and say, look, of those people in those sites, who gets to see it? Is this only a dealer who logs in who sees it privately, or is this publicly? So, Centralpoint is a lot more than just a wheel, although people refer to it as the Centralpoint Wheel, because definitely it's a very unique visual. But it's about the distribution of your information. It's about that ecosystem. And we also like to say that beyond managing the information from the center of that ecosystem out, down through your regions, through the U.S., etc., that's just one way. That's just one direction. That's B to B to C. Pushing the information through your distributors out to the people who need to reach it, consumers, whatever they might be, people who buy product or students or employees, whoever. But it's not just that, it's the return trip. So Centralpoint suggests something a lot larger than what a lot of clients are used to. It's B to B to C. And then, of course, the return trip of C to B to B. What did they do with the content? What did they order? What form did they fill out? So all of that back office information that's feeding in to this system is that bi-directional feed of information, so that we can see all of the dealer requests that have come in. And not only do we have a receipt for every one of those, but as that dealer information comes in, how do we manage the appropriate workflow? And once the workflow is approved and managed, how do we feed not just Centralpoint? How do we record what's happened, what we call the user experience? How do we record that for reporting purposes? But how do we feed your other back office systems? So we know that you have systems, ERP systems, accounting systems, billing systems, fulfillment systems, name the system. The good news is all of the systems eat one thing called data. Either we feed them a web service, or we process a credit card, or we move data to the other database that you have in the back office. We need to do more than just manage content to these people and track their request back. We need to streamline that information into your back office so that we're part of the equation. We become, as we've been called, the lipstick on the pig. And of course, this distributed wheel, as it's called, allows us to serve the entire organization in whatever vernacular that means for you. And again, n-tiered structure means that any government or organization with their departments and local chapters, state chapters, etc., from trade association to denominational church to Fortune 500, fits this same model. It starts at the parent and trickles all the way down to the children, hence the Centralpoint Wheel. For more information, please contact your sales representative or production manager so we can go a little deeper dive with you. Thank you.